With Florida State's young quarterbacks, how will the Noles attack Miami's defense?
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith. Thank you for making this your first listen each and every day. I truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Noles football with me. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. How does Florida State attack Miami's defense? I didn't even go into Miami's stats for this. I want to look at this 100% from Miami's perspective, from Florida State's perspective, because Florida State's got a new quarterback. They have to establish who they are first, and they're nowhere near doing that. I think Florida State has the opportunity to make some headway as an offense because, number one, if you're not excited about a rivalry game, why are you playing at Florida State? Number two, it's Miami. They have a lot of talent on defense. They haven't been as consistent as they probably would like. They certainly played very, very poorly last week against Louisville, but that means they'll probably play much better this week. They'll have more focus. They'll clean some things up. They might even have lineup changes. It's hard to say. They gave up, I believe, 45. That's never good, but they have a lot of talent. So I want to break down my thoughts on how you should attack Miami, why it should work, and at least help establish who you are, give an identity to the Florida State offense. Number one, I talk about this quite a bit on this show, and if there was ever a week where it would be helpful, it's this one. Florida State is going up against a team that can get after the quarterback. The Hurricanes don't mess around. They have a bevy of blitzes from the linebacker level. Wesley Basink, Maui Noah. Those guys are really talented. I don't think you're going to see a friendly type of situation in terms of blitz. You're going to see stunts. You're going to see green dog, meaning if you keep it back in, they're just going to bring them. There's going to be 5 or more canes headed towards the line of scrimmage on any passing play. I would be surprised if this is not their highest percentage blitz game. So there's twofold with that. They might just blitz on a play just to see what you do, and it kind of turns into a run blitz, is what it is. But again, they struggled against Louisville. They didn't protect the edge very well. Isaac Brown, the freshman, who's ironically from the Miami area, tore him up on a couple of plays. And they also struggled mightily with just tackling in space and being consistent. Kind of surprised me. So even if they have somebody in a hole, who's to say it's going to be a good play for Miami? Running into Cam Davis is not fun. That is a freight train. Tofili's a pretty strong guy himself, and he's even more elusive. I'll be curious to see how that works. Now, for full disclosure, I have no idea what Cam's situation is in terms of health. He got banged up towards the end of the game against Duke. I'm just going to assume he's going to play. I do not care one iota, none, zero, zip, nada, what any coaches say for either team about injuries this week. If possible, whatever they say, I would lean heavily towards the other. Mario despises people even bringing up injuries in his press conferences. Norvell just dances around them and lies. So it's worthless. But I'm going to prepare for this pod and every other one I do like Cam is going to play. If he doesn't, so be it. First down runs. If you're playing with a young quarterback, you don't want to be in second 8, second 12, anything in that range. You need at least 4 yards. I can probably put this little part in every podcast I ever do talking about Florida State's offense because it's just true. 2nd and 6 or better makes your play action game incredibly different, and it really improves your RPO game. Hey, they just had a nice run against us. Brock or Luke acts like he's going to hand off. They can run around in. They both proved in the Duke game they are viable running threats. It's not debatable at all. If you mess around and you just dive down hard every time on the running back against the Noles, they will gouge you. That being stated, Florida State's quarterback, whichever one is in the game, you need to get down. I guarantee you this is still a Florida State-Miami game. it will be as hard hitting as it can be. So they need to get down. 2, I made fun of Florida State's O-line for that goofy play in that first drive. 3 linemen going to 1 linebacker. It's justified because it happened. But at the same time, they still ran for 160 yards, even with 7 sacks, I believe they gave up. And pass protection for Florida State now is the worst category on the roster, even worse than the drops. They had 3 drops, but their pass protection is so bad. They got a lot to work on. The chemistry with the O-line, run blocking to help set up first down runs. In this part B of this, the communication. You could see Mo talking with the 2 young guards, and then he'd be mad after a play. You could tell by the body language mistake, like, what are you doing kind of stuff. That has to go away post haste. If it does not, against Miami, one or both the Florida State quarterbacks are going to be needing an ice bath or more. That is a nasty defensive front. They are by far the most talented defensive line that the Noles have faced this year. I'm not going to really get into it beyond that because top of my head, 3 or 4 of those guys are going to play at the National Football League level. Mesidor and Bain, just as an example, just seeing them in practices and games, seeing videos online, they just play with a different level of effort. If you give them a free pass and you whiff, Florida State is going to have a quarterback problem because they may not have a scholarship quarterback. The chemistry's got to be good, especially in the run plays to get started, but it's communication with those blitzes and how you pass protect. The communication doesn't go up exponentially in this game. It will be a disaster. There is no shortcut on that. 3, this is in theory the most connected thing. 2 and 3 go right together. There are probably going to be a few busts up front. Got to be able to throw it away, not throw it up for grabs when something breaks down in front of you. I don't care if that's Brock. I don't care if that's Luke. 2, you can still escape. There's nothing wrong with that. You just got to be smart about it. Realize the situation, ball placement. Do you have it away from your body or do you tuck it? The guys that end up not playing a lot at the college and especially the pro level are quarterbacks that have terrible ball skills in the pocket because they get fumbles. You're going to get some picks playing against high-level comp. It is what it is. You can't circumvent that by poor protection. And then you can't make it even worse when the guys do get to you and you don't have 2 hands on the ball. Don't tuck it when you run, etc. How do they handle pressure? How do they run? All the little technical things. That's what I'm looking for. 4, this is huge for Florida State. They've been doing it a lot this year anyway. Lord only knows the reps are there. Screen game. Florida State screen game has gotten a little better. They went away from it some against Duke. Duke tackles pretty well near the line of scrimmage, so I get it. It's weird. Miami has a ton of talent on defense, but they just give up chunk plays. Like they'll have a great play, and then they just bust. Their communication in the back 7, especially the back 4 or 5, depending on what formation they're in, if they're in nickel, if they're in base package, whatever, has been really bad. The corner opposite of Daryl Porter has been a rotating what's going to happen play-to-play situation. They don't have a second corner that is playing stable football. They've got a young guy, OJ, who's a freshman, who's going to be really good. He's not ready yet. Amaree Brown has been out. Maybe he plays in this game. I have no idea. Again, Mario's not giving anybody anything. Covering Miami football at press conferences with Mario is kind of comical. But at the same time, you have to attack whoever is not playing opposite of Daryl Porter. The nickel spot depends, and I'll get into that in a second. But that's Shakai and whatnot. He's my next topic. But with the screen game, Hakeem, guys that are bigger body guys, don't discount them being important because they can be blockers, and he's strong enough to just break a tackle and go. He's had a couple of chances to really hit big screens, and he hasn't got there. Maybe this is the game. You also have, like Jaylen Brown is from Miami, literally. I went to see him once, and after I got done with the interview, he was going to Miami for a visit. Like he lived 20 minutes, give or take, from the University of Miami. This game means a lot to him. I'm curious to see if he gets a screen or a short pass. He's insanely fast. If he can take one at least 20 or 30 yards. And then there's also Benson. Like he needs to redeem himself. That drop early in the game, and he's had more than his share of drops. It's just time. Doesn't necessarily have to be a screen to be nice, but if he can do something big there, that would be huge for Florida State's offense. When we come back, we're going to talk more Florida State and how they're going to attack Miami. Hey, Florida State fans, it's time to recognize the Roy Player of the Week. So far this season, we've pooled over $20,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits lead to massive change. With the Roy app, you can direct your support to the athletes you love, ensuring that all funds go to the specific player that you choose. Unlike collectives, you know exactly where your support is going, and you even receive exclusive content like personal videos and updates after the football season. The best part, it's risk-free. If athletes transfer or don't deliver the content, you get your money back. This week, I'm going with Justin Cryer as my player of the week. We are pitching in $100 towards Justin, and I'd love for you to join us. If $10 is the difference for him, that's great. Let's show Justin Cryer the love and give him the support he needs at Florida State. Remember, pay today, celebrate tomorrow. Your support sets up teams for success. Please do not forget Roy's exciting giveaway. Win 2 tickets to a game in November. Just download Roy, create an account, and enter code Locked On, and you're entered. Are you on Roy? Any contribution to athletes campaign also gets you entered automatically. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Download Roy now and join the NIL game with no subscriptions and no fees. And be sure to check us out again on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Roy_return on you for more info. So let's get back into the keys for the Florida State offense. Just talked about screens, and that goes right into Ja'Kai Douglas. Most consistent offensive player for the Noles this year and making plays. I don't know exactly how they'll use him, but I think he needs to get a few more passes. Question is, how much chemistry does he have with Luke and or Brock? I don't know. It's so new to these guys. I mean, Luke, literally, that was his first time playing last week. So that's a hard thing to come and figure out. But I'm really, really curious how that's going to go. Florida State needs to get him involved. He's a slot receiver, which makes it difficult to just straight up double him with much success play to play and not leave really athletic and fast players on the outside in one-on-one. So both Brock and Luke have big arms. They could go deep some. I get it, but I don't think the pass protection is going to allow for that. They're going to need to scheme. I hate these kind of games, but this is more on coaches than players in this. And I really hate saying that. They're going to have to scheme open some points if they want to score, because they're not going to pass protect as well as they really need to. Prove me wrong. So getting Ja'Kai on a bootleg, running him after the snap behind the line of scrimmage. You can't cover him there, throw it in the flat. Just make him an extension of the running game. Doing something like stack formations and stuff like that is something I'm going to talk about. We'll get into that more, but he needs to move around. If the Florida State quarterbacks are not ready for that and the formations and stuff, it's going to be a long day. Number 6, this is something that is important in almost any game, but I think especially with as mobile as both Brock and Luke are, move the pocket. You're going to struggle with pass protection anyway. They're mobile. If they take off and get 3 yards and it's 2nd and 7, well, that's better than third downs that you're looking at like 3rd and 6s and 8s and stuff because you struggled on first. Move the pocket. They take off on those. Again, 3 yards is better than nothing. You can hit the flat. You can get tight ends involved. Maybe you get Morlock going. He's obviously an athlete. Whoever it is, they need to get the ball out quickly on the perimeter. If you put your quarterback in the same spot over and over and over again with a porous offensive line when it comes to pass protection, and they're going up against the beast from Miami, that will end poorly. Let's see if Florida State's passing game moves the pocket much, especially very early in the game. First drive. If I do not see at least one possession or one play on the first possession where it's a bootleg or waggle and not just hike, take 2 steps and throw it to the tight end on just a little out, 2-yard out. I'm not talking about that. I mean, a fully developed play where you got to make post-snap reads the whole 9, I'm going to lose it. They should practice that every day this week. Get your quarterback out, clear his vision. Chances of getting the ball deflected go way down because you don't have D linemen in front of you. Seal the edge and make the linebackers come up and try to decide, am I rushing or am I going to stay in my area? Same with the corner or the safety, whoever, depending on the Miami coverage. Put them in limbo. Give your athletes a chance at space. I don't think Florida State can block consistently in the pocket. That'll also make the D linemen think a little bit about their rush lanes. So that's very important because rush lane integrity can go sour real quick if you just sit in one spot, but they can get away with it. You can take advantage of it the other way around, though. All right. This is the formational stuff that I hinted at a minute ago. Stack formation. Put Douglas behind Hakeem or whatever. They literally need to have new formations they have not shown this year. Zero. Brand new. Too bad if Brock and Luke don't like it. They have zero chance just to play them straight up and be consistent on offense. Miami's going to win this game, but that doesn't mean they have to dominate. Florida State, they're not anywhere near Miami right now. I get it, but you can improve as an offense. Part of the way you do that is throw out changes. It's a rivalry game. I'll be shocked if there aren't several. Stack formations and triangle should be a part of it. And here's also a key. Your young tight ends really didn't get involved against Duke. That was my one really big disappointment. Why? Who's guarding Landen Thomas on a 50-50 ball? He's 6'5", 240, and a freaky athlete. Amaree's about an inch shorter. I'm guessing 6'4"-ish anyway, whatever. Same deal. Who is guarding them in one-on-one jump balls? That alone should get them involved. And then screens and short little passes as checkdowns, they're not fun to tackle. You could just do the basic things like that, deep and short. You keep the middle of the field out of it where they have to run great routes as freshmen and be fine. But you can definitely get them involved on those rollouts, etc. Let's see that. And then in stack, or if they're at the front of the triangle, they can help you in the screen game with blocking. I'm just not sure why that didn't happen last week. It needs to this week. They also need to use Hakeem, Kentron, anybody else bigger, and put Ja'Kai behind any of those guys. At least make the Miami defense think he's getting the ball. Hell, I don't care if they know he's getting the ball. He's not much fun to tackle either, just because you can't hit him. He's a really twitchy guy. Jaylen Brown could be another one like that. It's part of the screen game, and you can use different formations in that combination with bunch to just make it difficult to guard. Miami's, I'm telling you, their secondary is in disarray with communication. You might get a free touchdown out of something like that, as generic as it is. They should be in non-traditional wide receiver formations constantly throughout this game, or the Florida State offense is probably not maximizing its opportunity. Third downs. This is kind of like anybody else. You've got to come up with things to scheme on third down. Okay. What does that mean against Miami? Again, the new plays are part of it, but it's also using plays you haven't used prior to this game on third down. It may even be an extension of a play that you've had, but a new formation to basically do the same thing. So there's more comfort for your players. Again, Miami's pass rush is going to kick butt on Saturday. Anybody who disagrees with that is probably smoking some good stuff. That's a really good pass rush against a really bad pass protection. You have to catch them stone cold off on a few, and you need chunk yardage plays. The chances of Florida State consistently moving the football down the field on like 4 to 6 yard plays is next to zero, beyond maybe like one drive. Everybody kind of gets a drive a game where they just click. Fair enough. If there's more than one drive like that for Florida State on Saturday, I will tip my cap, and so should every other Florida State fan. Chunk yardage plays, and you're going to have to scheme them. You're not going to out-talent them up front. That's for darn sure. And the receivers and the new quarterbacks don't have much chemistry. You need to fool Miami, and sometimes that's just based on the pre-snap look. And Miami's players, two guys go to one, and somebody's just wide open. That's happened a bunch against Louisville. They out-schemed Miami. Like the Louisville offense made Miami look terrible. I know Brom's a good coach. I get it. But Florida State did some of that stuff last year. It's just more challenging with a young quarterback. No question. Finally here, this is something I'm just curious about. I don't know if this will happen. I'd love to see it. But any freshman player that is on Florida State's offense, I'm not even going to go into names. There are some guys that have either played special teams or had a cameo appearance, that kind of thing. in addition to, like, Cam Davis doesn't count. He's more or less a starter. But Landen and Amaree aside too, any of the other guys at receiver, O-line, anything they have, it's important that they know what it's like to play against Miami. Even if it's at the end of the game's been well in doubt for a while. They need to play in a series, like a meaningful series. You're playing through it like it's 10-10 in the third quarter, even if it's way different than that. And you get them in the game. They got to find a way to do it. I know coaches, we're playing for now. Okay, well, right now sucks. You need to find a way to get young players in the game for Florida State. There's just no way around it. Finally, trick plays. 2 or more. Minimum. What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? You're not going to beat Miami. Have some fun. Let the young players have a little fun with it. Maybe a reverse to Ja'Kai, maybe a double pass with Ja'Kai. I don't know. Flea flicker, whatever it is. You got to do that. You just got to do it. When we come back, I want to talk just a little bit about the Florida State-Miami rivalry and how this game kind of sets up to where the programs are going over the next couple of years. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you're in the middle of a game and you get a hunch, you can check out the latest stats, live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. The rivalry, Florida State and Miami. I grew up on it. Many of you that are under 30 probably don't really understand the rivalry the way that many of us do. I'm 51. I grew up literally in my teenage years with those two teams being 2 of the top 4 programs pretty much every year. Late 80s to 95 through there, say 85 to 95. To me, that's about as prime as it gets. Miami had started to go down there, get ready to go on probation, but those games were incredible. And they set a tone for college football history, not just the state of Florida or the rivalry between the Seminoles and the Hurricanes. How you played defense, how you recruited. Those 2 programs changed the way defenses looked at things, especially even more than I know. Offense is more fun to talk about. The defenses changed college football. They revolutionized it. Taking a smaller player, he can't beat that guy. Yeah, he can, because he just runs around him. They both use defensive ends in a totally different way. They were great at man-to-man coverage when everybody else would play zone. They did a lot of things that really made teams look at how they evaluated. This rivalry is special in so many ways. But here's my question to anybody out there. And I don't care if you're a Miami fan or a Florida State fan or just a fan of another team watching this podcast. Can you think of a rivalry that is more bitter in state than this one when it comes to guys that's like being from one area, predominantly state, like Miami, that area high school wise? Florida State, especially under Bowden, just kicked the crap out of Miami a lot of times in recruiting and got guys from South Florida. And they also got a lot of guys just all over the state, don't get me wrong, but it made the rivalry special. They recruited against each other. They played very similar styles on offense and defense. And finally, the games are just great. That's what I remember about this rivalry. And even if Florida State was the far superior team right now, I'd be doing this exact same thing, talking about this. This is a rivalry game that needs to be respected, and it should always be respected because it's great. I know this game this weekend is probably going to be lopsided. I think Miami's going to kill them. You got to prove me wrong on that. But I respect the rivalry, and so should you. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. I truly appreciate it. Please take the time to hit that like button and that subscription if you have not already. Share this podcast, and I'd truly appreciate it if you're watching on YouTube, if you commented. And now go check out Locked On ACC. It's been a wild year. They're going to talk about this game. They're going to talk about all the things going on in the courtroom, with the crazy court case with Florida State and Clemson going after the ACC, etc. Check them out next. Kenton Gibbs and Alex Dino got it going on. Everybody have a good one. Take care.